During World War II, there was one Nazi so dangerous, so strategically critical to Hitler's regime, that the Allies knew they had to eliminate him. But this assassination didn't just change the course of the war, it cost 1,300 innocent lives. This is the true story of a calculated decision, a mission of sacrifice, and a reminder that history isn't made by choosing between good and evil. It's made by impossible choices where every option costs lives. They knew what it would cost, and they did it anyway. Here's what happened. It's 1942. World War II is in full swing. The Allies are fighting on multiple fronts against Nazi Germany. Among the Nazi leadership, there's one man, a general so brilliant, so strategically vital to the German war effort, that he's becoming a problem. His name is Reinhard Heydrich. He's the architect of the Holocaust. He's the right-hand man to Heinrich Himmler. He's one of the most powerful men in the Third Reich. The Allies know they need to stop him, but they also know stopping him will come at a price. Here's why. Heydrich isn't just a military target, he's a symbol. He represents Nazi power and efficiency. If he dies, the repercussions will be severe. The Nazis don't just retaliate militarily, they retaliate against civilians. But the Allies make the decision anyway. They have to. The risk of leaving him alive is too great. They plan the assassination. In May 1942, two Czech resistance fighters, trained by British intelligence, are dropped into Czechoslovakia with one mission: kill Reinhard Heydrich. Their names are Josef Gabčík and Jan Kubiš. The Y spend weeks planning. The Y study Heydrich's schedule. The Y learn his routes. The Y know exactly where and when to strike. On May 27, 1942, Heydrich is driving through Prague in his open-top car. No armor, no guards surrounding the vehicle. It's the perfect moment. Gabčík and Kubiš ambush him on a street corner. They open fire. Heydrich is hit. The CR crashes. For a moment, it seems like the mission worked. But the end, something unexpected happens. Heydrich survives the initial attack. He manages to draw his weapon. The assassins have to flee. Heydrich is rushed to the hospital. For a few days, there's hope that he'll die from his wounds. But the end, he gets worse. An infection sets in, blood poisoning. On June 4th, 1942, Reinhard Heydrich dies. The assassination was successful, but the AI cost was about to become clear. The Nazis don't just accept this. They retaliate. Massive Eli. They round up suspects. They interrogate. They torture. And the I decide on a collective punishment. They pick a village. A small Czech village called Lidice. The village is suspected of harboring the assassins. On June 10, 1942, the Nazis surround the village. Every male over 16 is executed. Every woman is sent to Auschwitz concentration camp. Every child is either executed or sent to be Germanized in other camps. In total, 173 people from Lidice are killed. But that's not all. The Nazis also target the village of Lidice, another suspected hideout. 184 people are killed there. Then the Y crack down on the entire Czech population. Arrests, executio nes terror. By the end of the reprisal campaign, over 1,300 people have been killed. 1,300 innocent lives for one assassination. Here's where this gets complicated. Was it worth it? Heydrich was a legitimate military target. He was one of the architects of the Holocaust. His death did remove a dangerous enemy from power. But 130 innocent people died because of that decision. The Czech people didn't ask for this. The villages of Lidice and Lidice weren't even involved in the assassination. They were victims of collective punishment, a war crime under international law. The assassins themselves, Gabčík and Kubiš, they knew what would happen. They knew the Nazis would retaliate. They knew innocent people would die. They did it anyway. Why? Because sometimes in war, leaders have to make impossible decisions. Decisions where there is no good option, only less bad options. Heydrich meant continued Holocaust operations, continued genocide, continued Nazi dominance. Heydrich dead meant 1,300 civilian deaths as punishment, which is worse, history judge as it as necessary. The assassination of Heydrich was one of the few successful strikes against Nazi leadership during the war. It showed the Nazis could be hurt, that they could be killed. But the cost was paid by people who had nothing to do with the decision. That's the tragedy of this story. That's why it still matters today. This story reminds us that history is complicated. It reminds us that the people who make war decisions are rarely the ones who pay the price. It reminds us that courage and sacrifice sometimes look different than we expect. Gabčík and Kubiš were heroes. They fought against evil. They risked everything. But 300 innocent people paid the price. That's the cost of freedom. That's the cost of resistance. And it's a cost that's often forgotten when we celebrate the victory. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the real cost of war, the real complexity of history, then subscribe, because I have more stories like this. Stories about ordinary people making extraordinary decisions. Stories about the easy hidden costs of history. Stories that prove real history is darker than fiction. Subscribe so you never miss another untold story from history's darkest chapters. Thank you for watching.